Afternoon, folks. Give me a wee second to sort Facebook out. Right, that's Facebook sorted out, folks. Good afternoon. Let's see who's in. Doing a bit of winging it today, folks. I'm not well prepared. I had a low on and I haven't really had much time to prepare for this particular show. But we'll get battered through it. The big subject today will be the budget and how it affects you. Okay, but we've got a couple of Scottish stories to cover first. So who's in? Rebecca McDougall, Wolf Pett, Storm Hunter, Mark Telford, Eddie Wolfie, the Scotsman Independence, Malcolm Morrison, Mark Telford, Stephen McNeil, Davy Keane, no doubt, Dylan's there somewhere and all, Lorraine. Good afternoon, Reagan Elite. Folks, if you haven't checked out Reagan Elite's channel, please do. Laddie does great work. I think he's overdoing it a wee bit now. Behave yourself, Reagan. You're going to burn yourself out, son. But he does some really good stuff. Right, hi Millie. Hi John. Mags. Hi Tories don't get tasered. Martin Boyd. Ali Watson. We get anybody in for Facebook yet? Let's have a run down. Where Willie's buckets in? Pat Bannon. Chris Wilson. Oh, where's the Facebookers? And the first through the door for Facebook today seems to be Paul Fulton. So we've got Paul in for Facebook, John Baxter in for Facebook, Lynn Shield in for Facebook, Tina Chalmers, Barbara Patterson. I see Barbara Lansbury there and Ginger Giraffes there on YouTube. David McBeth on Facebook. Majorities, of course, are on YouTube. And we're up over 100 mark, folks, so let's get this broadcast underway. It's the Two Davies on the 7th to the 3rd, 2024. Minus a Davy. You've all got a chance to see him yesterday. He's doing all right. But we're minus a Davy again. They don't want to overstretch you all bugger. You know what I mean? Anyway, as I say, because it's minus a Davy, it'll be done in the style as Andy Truck Davy. So here we go. Andy Truck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast and 10 degrees. Still quite nice for this time of year. It's dry. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know what the weather's like where you are, look out your rain bloody windy. And maybe drop it in the comments so I can see how the weather is where you are. Right, Stephen, thank you very much for that super chat. Vote SNP for independence. Oh, no doubt we'll get a bit of that as we go through. Hi, Dory. Hi, John. Hi, Davey. Right, where we go for you today? Well, it would appear that the Scottish Tories are at odds with the Westminster Party over the extension of the oil and gas windfall levy till 2029. Now, it means oil and gas companies will pay 35% on an extra 35% tax on their profits. Dross, the Tory leader in Scotland, is raging as it endangers not just jobs in Aberdeen, because that doesn't worry Dross. What it does worry him is that Aberdeen, Aberdeenshire and Moray are on Tory voting areas. And the extension of the windfall tax will probably see investment in oil and gas fall, which is what we're being told. We're also being told it may lead to a loss of 100,000 jobs in the northeast of Scotland. So we'll see where that goes. Because every time a new tax is introduced, everybody screams, industry will flee, industry will flee. As long as they can make a buck at it, they're going fucking nowhere. Right. Now, of course, the windfall tax on the oil and gas thing. Now, Labour wanted to shut the loopholes in it. And the loopholes are massive. And I mean massive when it comes to the oil and gas levy. Now, the oil and gas levy, the way it works is if for every £100 that you invest in your company or in a oil and gas exploration, you can offset that against the tax. So for every 100 you invest, you can offset £91.40 of it against the taxman. And every £100 you invest to decarbonise extracting oil and gas, you will get back £109. Or you'll get £109 worth of relief. Now, what's interesting about that is 2023 seems to be the first time any of these oil and gas companies have actually paid tax since 2017, which is absolutely astounding because they were offsetting against their investment in the North Sea, so they hadn't paid any bloody tax at all. And that explains why revenues to the Exchequer and revenues coming back to Scotland for oil and gas hasn't happened in the last while. Because they haven't paid any taxes. They only started paying tax. Shell especially only started paying UK tax again in 2023. Unbloody believable. That you made 1,000 subscribers regularly. But we go here. Another super chat. Sorry, they move that fast. Class action. So what's your thoughts on Scotland getting 300 million and Canary Wharf getting 242 million? I actually don't believe that the 300 million in Barnett consequences will come north. But we'll get to that in the budget section. Because apparently England's getting an extra 2.5 billion for day-to-day running the NHS. That should be 250 million coming up the road right away, class action. So, anything else in the budget, well, there should be consequentials. It should be more than 300 million. Okay, so as I say, oil and gas companies didn't pay any bloody tax from 2017 to 2023. Wow. Hey. Right, let's move on. There's a public inquiry to be announced into the murder of Emma Caldwell. Now, I don't normally cover crime. The reason why I'm doing this is because it's a public inquiry being announced. Now, public inquiries annoy me. They're a huge expense to the public purse, and generally they do nothing. The recommendations come in, and then are thrown straight in the fucking bin. Or are ignored by the organisation who the recommendations are being made to make improvements. Now, this goes back to the murder of Emma Caldwell in 2005 by Ian Packer. Now, it's taken 19 years to convict this man, so they want an inquiry into why it took 19 years to find this serial sex offender guilty of this murder. Ian Packer has also been found guilty of 11 rapes. Now, as I say, the reason why I mention this one is Justice Secretary Angela Constantine tells the Parliament there will be a public inquiry, and they always cost a couple of £100 million, or a good few million anyway. And as I say, generally the outcomes are negative. The recommendations which will be made to Police Scotland won't actually apply because Police Scotland didn't exist in 2005. The investigation of the Emma Caldwell murder was carried out by Strathclyde Police. Police Scotland didn't come into being until after 2007 when the SNP first came to power. So, the recommendations that will be made in this inquiry into how it took so long to convict this guy of this murder, most of the recommendations will probably be outdated. Because we're looking at a 20-year-old murder here. What a public inquiry is going to achieve here, I have no idea. I just know that it will take money out of public services to pay for the inquiry. And at a time when things are tight, the Scottish budget's due to be set at the lowest ever since devolution began, then a few million quid on a public inquiry is a waste. I can understand the strength of feeling for the family. They want to know why it took so long. But, as I say, any recommendations that are made on an inquiry that happened 20 years ago will probably be outdated today. Nuts. Okay. Right. And this one's quite interesting as well. Who was a Yusuf who's went against his deputy first minister and the party's deputy leader by saying it's no time to have a debate on pulling MPs out of Westminster, and neither is after the next election. What he's saying is the MPs should stay in Westminster and fight Scotland's corner. I know that the people in Westminster don't understand devolution, but it would appear that Mr. Yusuf doesn't understand fucking Westminster. Wow. I need to give him a phone. But anyway, Mr. Yusuf might find himself having to change his mind if this makes it onto the party's conference agenda. And I'm sure it will. He might try and wriggle to stop it from getting there, but it won't. And then that'll be up to party delegates to decide whether we think it's time to pull the MPs out of Westminster. You know, they say, can he disagree? Can he agree with Mr. Yusuf on this one? I do think we should wait until after the Westminster election and see how the land lies. But it's definitely time, especially if we're still the majority representation of Scottish MPs in that Parliament, then pulling them out would delegitimise Westminster and Scotland. So, Charlie, we've heard this continuity candidate. If that was the case, a continuity candidate, I think we'll find he'll be quickly replaced. And we've already got the unionists claiming he's the most unpopular SNP leader ever, and that the SNP are already talking about outing him before a general election. I don't know. But if he's going to go against the party at a conference, then he might find himself shunted. But let's carry on about continuity. That's what he's called Miss Sturgeon or all, and he's the continuity of Miss Sturgeon. And everybody's saying they don't want Indy, they're only pulling all our chains. We're about to find out. Because it's getting close to the point where they're going to have to tell us, by the way, we're changing the party's raison d'etre from God for Independence to make the best we can with devolution. Because that's what they need to say. At that point, of course, the SNP's over. Right, let's move on. And where are we? Aye. More trouble for Anna Sarwar as Michael Shanks, MP for Rutherglen, Hamilton, South and Rutherglen, goes against goes against Sarwar on the council tax freeze. Now, this council tax freeze has become the real headache for Anna Sarwar because he supports the council tax freeze. He's now got 3 councils where the Labour leaders knocked back the council tax freeze. And you've now got Michael Shanks, MP for Hamilton South and Rutherglen, who said he would take his lead from the branch office and the branch office leader, telling the press that he doesn't think Edinburgh should have the power to freeze the council tax. So, Michael Shanks doesn't believe that the Holyrood Parliament should have control of the council tax. No, David, that's a good question. If we pull it at Westminster, would that not give Westminster an opportunity like they have in Northern Ireland to run Scotland from London? Did they run Scotland from London? People don't seem to understand devolution, and the mainstream media takes advantage of that. There are only about 4 competencies that's devolved: health, education, environment, and water. They're big briefs, but that's roughly all there is. and and income tax, and a few other taxes like landfill tax. So it is already run from Westminster. The small amount of powers that actually lie in Holyrood, the mainstream media have managed to convince most of the public here in Scotland that everything's run from Holyrood. And here's another problem. Political parties in Scotland also make the public think that Holyrood's run in Scotland. It's fucking no. It's only running education, health, infrastructure programmes within Scotland, and the environment. And as I say, they have powers over a couple of taxes. That's it. Anybody that thinks that Holyrood is running Scotland is after fucking chump. And whether you've got 40, 57 MPs sitting in that house of thieves and carpetbaggers or no, they're still running the fucking show. Because 57 MPs can't make a shitload of difference at all. Can't make any difference in a parliament with 650 MPs, the majority of who are English. Hi, Michael. How are you, mate? So, anybody that thinks that Holyrood's running Scotland has been deceived by the mainstream fucking media. Simple as that. Let's no mess about here. If anybody watching this programme right now thinks that Holyrood and the Holyrood Parliament is running Scotland, then you're off your fucking heads. You're off your heads. They only have the devolved competencies. If you don't know what the devolved competencies are, you know how to use a search engine. Just put into the search engine devolved competencies of the Scottish Parliament. And you'll see how narrow devolution is. How very narrow devolution is. So anybody, as I say, anybody here watching this who believes that the Holyrood Parliament is running Scotland, wrong. Absolutely wrong. All they do along there is administer the things that Westminster allow them to administer. That's it. So to say, anybody watching, pardon me, anybody watching this programme right now who thinks that Scotland is being run from Edinburgh, go to your search engine, type in devolved competencies of the Scottish Parliament, and then type in reserved matters from the Scottish Parliament, and compare the two lists. Should be very interesting. It will awaken you and enlighten you. And even the devolved competencies that are here and are within the power of Holyrood, they're still directly under the power of Westminster because they hold the budget strings for everything. Simple as that. Thank you, Kevin. Kevin, that's a good point. And Geordie, thanks again, Geordie. You've been awfully generous. Hey, you missed a beautiful face. No, that's about. Hold on, how the fuck did I manage that? Right, let's put that back then. Thanks, Geordie. So as I say, anybody that thinks that Scotland is being run from Holyrood, you're right. It's only there to administer devolved competencies. Just look them up. There's no that many. Okay. Right. Let's move on. The budget. Key points for Jeremy Hunt's budget. Now, I've got it up in a couple of places here. but we'll go with the key. We'll go with this one. On taxation, national insurance, a payroll tax cut by 2p in the pound for employees and the self-employed. The salary threshold at which to start paying income tax and national insurance remains frozen, which means more people are dragged into higher tax rates. That's called the fiscal drag. Right. The other thing on taxes was the non-dom regime was scrapped, and the introduction of a UK ISA for focusing on inward investment, just as well as focusing on inward investment, because international investment has dropped off a cliff edge and is 40 bits. And as I say, Sunak's disgusting speech, as David and I were talking about yesterday, last week, was to hide the fact that since Brexit hit, GDP shrank to 5%, more than what was predicted by the OBR. Right, so how much will the cut in national insurance save you? Well, put together with the cut that we had at the end of last year and the autumn statement, then, you know, it will save the average worker on the average pay £450 a year, which is nothing, pissing the wind. Nowhere near even what the electricity prices went up. But here's what your savings will be. On a 15k wage, you will save £49. So the lowest paid save that get the least at £49. 25,000, you save £249 a year. 35,000, you'll save £449 a year. 50,000, 749. 75,000, you will save 754. And that's all the way up to the 100,000 tax bracket. So really, there's not much in it for your average tax, a taxpayer. It might sound a lot, an extra £450 in your pocket, but when your electricity prices went up 120% in the last 2 fucking years, it's not even making a dent in it. And the big loser when it comes to taxation is pensioners. Pensioners don't pay national insurance. And the Resolution Foundation had a look at the budget yesterday and reckons that pensioners will lose out by about £1,000 a year. Hey-ho. So one, when they're already struggling. Right, benefits and income support. Right, the full child benefit to pay to households where highest earning parents earn up to 60,000. The current limit was at 50,000. The partial child benefits are paid right up to 80,000. But the way it was working was, if I was on 49 grand, Sarah was on 49 grand, and we had 3 kids, we would still get full child benefit for them. Whereas if I was on 60 grand, 61 grand as a single earner in the household, we would only get partial payment or we get no payment whatsoever. So what they've done there is they've had a look at it and said, okay, once your household earns over 60 grand, then we'll start phasing it out. Once your household earns 80 grand, out the window, you're not getting any. So it's going to be set on no individual earnings, but household earnings in the future. Okay. Because the way it was, a single household with one earner making 60 grand wasn't getting any child benefit, whereas 2 households where both people working at 49 grand a head were getting it for other children. They fill them out. So they decided to stop looking at the claimant, whether it be the mother or the father, individual income, and start looking at household incomes, which is a bit fairer. Not very often you see that about a Tory budget. Right, cigarettes, vapes and alcohol. Right, there's a freeze-on alcohol duty, which I thought might happen, which was due to end in August. It's to be continued to February 2025, so I'll be up to Labour whether they change things in the budget next year. There'll be a new tax on vaping products from October 2026, and that'll be linked to the levels of nicotine within the vaping liquid. And the tobacco duty will go up by £2, also in October 2026, per 100 cigarettes, to ensure that vaping remains cheaper, because apparently it's better for your health. But there will be a tax in 2026 October. That's if Labour don't scrap it. Okay. Transport and energy, fuel duty frozen again. With a £5 pence cut in fuel duty on petrol and diesel duty end later this month, that'll be kept for another year. Windfall tax on the profits of energy firms, which had been scheduled to end in March 2028, has been extended until March 2029. Air passenger duty, the tax paid on flights to go up for business class tickets. And a £160 million deal for the UK government to purchase a site in Wales to build a nuclear plant. And a further £120 million for a government fund that invests in green energy programmes. So nothing pissing the wind. They're spending more down that road on not clean, not green, nuclear energy. The higher rate of tax on profits from selling properties has been cut from 28% to 24%. Tax breaks for owners of holiday lets properties has been scrapped. And stamp duty break when purchasing multiple properties in England, Wales or Northern Ireland is also being scrapped and will end in June. So each property you will pay individual tax on it. So you can see where he's giving it away at one hand and clawing it back in the other hand. Right, public debt, inflation and economy. Now, the Office for Budget Responsibility predicts the UK economy to grow by 0.8% this year and 1.9% next year. Nurse! Economists in the UK government are after fucking maids. Either that or drunk. Anyway, growth of 2% predicted for 26, with 1.8 in 27 and 1.7 in 2028. These fucking pie in the sky. I don't know where they're getting these fucking economists from. Wow. No, we've just had the Chancellor telling us we've turned a corner when the fucking economy just went into recession. Mental. Public debt. The UK inflation rate forecast to fall below 22% target by the end of June, falling to 1.5% next year. That's not the way the Bank of England are looking at it. If that's the way they were looking at it, they'd start cutting interest rates right now, which might encourage a wee bit of investment. But nah, they're intent on keeping the interest rate stuck at 5.25 because they don't think that inflation is going to hit that low that fast. And if it does, then we're in trouble because we could be heading for deflation. Right, public debt, excluding Bank of England debt, forecast to be 91.7% of GDP this year, rising to 92.8% next year. But that's excluding Bank of England debt. If we include Bank of England debt, we are already 100%, 101% a debt to GDP. That's not good. Right, overall day-to-day government spend to grow by 1% in real terms over the next 5 years. That's going to fucking help. Now, even if inflation's at 2%, 1% is not going to even cover the costs in our public services. So we're going to see huge cuts. NHS budget to go up by 2.5 billion next year. The service will also get a 3.4 billion up to 2030 to improve productivity. So next year there should be an extra 250 million come to Scotland through permanent consequentials. And going forward, there should be an extra 340 million a year come to Scotland up until 2030 to cover the NHS. I hope we're not still in this fucking broken union we're in. Right, business and investment. Thresholds at which small businesses must register to pay VAT raised from 85,000 to 90,000 from April. And COVID era government loan scheme for small businesses extended until March 2026, so you can still get a bounce back loan for the government apartment. Tax relief for touring and orchestral productions. That's to be extended to March 2025 and then made permanent. Right, other measures in the budget. 1 million for memorial to honour Muslims who fought for Britain during World War I and II. About bloody time. Because for some reason, the people on these islands seem to think it was Little Britain that took on the might of Nazi Germany. No, it wasn't. At that point, it was still an empire. And that empire had soldiers from everywhere. No just here. And it's about time these people were recognised. If I remember right, Liberation Day in France, they actually weeded all the colour soldiers out. So that the news footage only showed white people. Right, and a new tax credit for independent UK films with a budget of less than 15 million. So that's the budget really. So what does it really mean for us? It means nothing. The Chancellor was on the day telling us, aye, we're still going to be worse off. Now, the worst hit's going to be 8 million tax-paying pensioners who will see their taxes increase as income thresholds remain frozen. And it'll be an 8 billion collective hit from the spring budget. The Resolution Foundation described pensioners as the biggest losers from the budget amid falling living standards and stagnating growth. Torsten Bell, its chief executive, said, the likely last budget before the general election showed that this has been a parliament of flatlining growth, flatlining standards, and a notable redistribution from the old to the rich. To the old, the poor, and the young to the rich, actually. So there you go. Any winners in the budget? Aye, the rich. She's a bright and well, has she? Thanks, Johnny. That's jolly decent. Of your right to say I've aged well. I wasn't so sure myself. So that's basically the budget for you. Giveaways with one hand, taking back with the other. If you're a smoker, you're getting smacked. If you're a pensioner, you're getting smacked. So, not much to it, actually. There's no surprises. I mean, if we take the 4% reduction in national insurance or the autumn statement and the spring budget, putting £450 back in people's pockets, that £450 in your pockets to the detriment of public services to the tune of 10 billion. 10 billion. So there'll be massive cuts to public services at a time when public services, especially in England and Wales, are on their arses. Tax cuts at this point in time makes no sense. But when you get into the wider budget statement, you actually see that there hasn't been any tax cuts. Because the pretty headlines that we got for the Commons yesterday are offset with all the stupid things. Increases in what they call indirect taxes. You know, but I really feel for the pensioners at this point in time. Because they get scuddied in this budget. Absolutely scuddied. And as to the idea of a new ISA, where you can invest 5,000 and it'll be in an ISA, and they'll use that to invest in UK businesses, you can wave that fucking money goodbye. Everything's gone tits up. So it is. Absolutely everything's gone tits up. So as I say, pensioners to be the worst hit. And of course, mere fucking scandal for the Tories. Leader of the House, Penny Mordaunt, has given her backing to Michelle Dolan, insisting the Science Secretary values public money, following the revelation that the public cash was used to pay damages on her behalf. Taxpayers paid $15,000 to cover damages handed to an academic which Miss Dolan had falsely accused of supporting Hamas. If she has libelled or slandered somebody, the public purse shouldn't be fucking paying for it. It should be the bloody science minister who did the slandering who pays for it. Unbloody believable. The Cabinet Minister is Ms Owen's facing calls to resign and to pay the costs herself. Now, what have we just seen here with the Health Secretary having to step down because of his iPad? And he's paying for it. Although he didn't want the public to pay for it to start with. This thing should be sacked. Never mind getting the backing of the leader of the House, but it doesn't matter, they'll be gone shortly. Anyway, Labour described the decision to pay the costs out of the public purse as a new low for ministerial standards. Is it, fuck? The new low came when the public purse spent £250,000 paying for Boris Elias's Partygate defence. Wow. As for a new low, this fucking lot managed to find a new low every day of the week. I mean, they're not just at the bottom of the barrel. They're through the bottom of the barrel and into the fucking cesspit below. Wow. But you see the differences in the parliaments. Now, Matheson wasn't gone until he'd finished his tweaks to Mr. Yusuf's programme for the NHS by the time when Mr. Yusuf was Health Secretary. So, when he was finished that work, he went. As far as I can tell, this so-called science minister doesn't get fuck out today anyway. So, it would appear that the Lord Cameron has pissed off Rishi Sunak. Talk about kicking a man while he's down. Rishi Sunak will have woken up this morning, reeling from the response to the interview he and his wife, Ashika Murthy, gave to Greaser about how they split the domestic chores. Well, anyway, Cameron's criticised the bloody thing. What did he have to say? He's criticised it anyway, so there you go. In fact, I can't even bother looking into mere Tory fucking infighting and sleaze. What I can tell you is Cameron's fucking off bowing and scraping to the Israelis, where he's meeting Israeli ministers and Netanyahu at the moment. What's he saying? He's saying, here's another barrel load of UK money, taxpayers' money, and here's our industrial arms complex. Help yourself, we're open for business. As genocide continues. Well, where else we go? And apparently we're heading for, after that budget, we're heading for austerity 2.0. And the Labour Party and Sir Keir Starmer have been warned not to be the nannies of austerity 2.0. But as we know, Starmer's a Tory. He's going to stick to Tory fiscal policy. And he'll continue. In fact, see what your man there was saying earlier about continuity. Candidate. That's what Starmer is. Him and Labour are Tory 2.0, and they are just Tories. You wee Dory. Nice to see you there. Hopefully catch up with you again soon. And I don't mean on here, I mean in person. So, the Labour Chancellor Rachel Reeves said the budget was an omni shambles. And then Labour overwhelmingly supported it. And the vote to pass the budget. Absolutely mental. Mental. What else we got down that road? And the budget, of course, the budget with the levelling up tax, that's pulled the feet right out for under Labour, hasn't it? He's already closing the holes. But budget leaves Labour seeking savings to fund pledges. What fucking pledges have been backing them all? Anybody know what Labour stands for anywhere? I mean, there we go. Rachel Reeves has told James O'Brien on LBC that they'll keep the Tory tax cuts. So it would appear that Labour have no intention of fixing the public services down that fucking road. And it would appear Labour and the Tories are getting a right belting after BBC. They've been accused of a conspiracy of silence over the scale of spending cuts or tax rises by as I say, and that's also that's also what's been said by influential think tank, the Institute for Fiscal Studies. Now, you know, I'm fucking fed up with think tanks. I mean, we keep being told that these think tanks are respectable and that we should respect their opinions. I've never found one to be fucking right yet on their fiscal predictions. On their doom and gloom predictions because of the fiscal position we're in. Generally, they're no bad. But when it comes to projecting and working how things are going to be in the future, so like everybody else, every economist and everyone else, they just fucking missed the target. But anyway, the Institute for Fiscal Studies have actually said that Labour and Tories are conspiring together to keep the depth of cuts and tax rises secret for the public. Two cheeks of the same arse, remember, folks. To hear it being said that they're actually conspiring together on a public forum like the BBC is quite unusual because they like us to think they're opposition. But as we've seen over the last 4 years, nearly come up in 5 years, it'll be 5 years in November, remember, since Bojo's election, we have not seen Labour oppose a fucking thing that the Conservatives have done. The term opposition doesn't actually apply to the Labour Party. It doesn't. And you're right, Stephen, it looks like Labour are doing their best to be runners-up, as usual. And who could blame them? They're going to win this election by default. Not because they're popular, but by default because the Tories are unpopular. We've seen that in Monday's programme when I said, there's a new poll out yesterday telling us that 55% of the electorate, UK-wide, don't trust Starmer. They think he's untrustworthy. Yet they're going to troop into the fucking polling booths and vote for a man that 55% is. Thanks, Gregor. Apparently Sweden's just been passed to join NATO. There you go. 55% of the UK electorate don't trust fucking Starmer at all. They say he's untrustworthy and spins like a top. So you got poll out yesterday. And yet they're going to troop into the polling booths and vote for him. Because they have no alternative. None. They have no alternative. So, but it's refreshing to actually see a media outlet call it out and call it as it is. Two cheeks of the same arse working together. Colluding, conspiring to keep things from the public. Don't need to hear. Don't even believe me. Just jump on the BBC Politics. The piece was written by Nick Edzer, business reporter for the BBC. People go right on Quinton. Sorry if you're using YouTube, you won't see this, but on Facebook, there seems to be a rammy going on with Quinton and a few of the Facebookers. Quinton likes to be controversial. He's quite good to debate with. But as I say, he likes to be controversial. So if you don't want to get caught up with Quinton and get into a big debate, just ignore him. Alright, and what about Freeport? I'll get to that in a second. Thanks, Alistair. You're awfully generous as well these days, mate. Thank you very much. Right. What about Freeport's Davy? Do you know much about that? I'll tell you what they are. They're tax avoidance schemes. And when they talk about what the Tories have done for the north east of England, well, they want to do a Teesside to a bunch of privateers who have stole the fucking land and made an absolute fortune. Freeports were never a good idea. They've never worked. We had them before. Didn't they work then? And they won't work now. The reason why the Scottish governments want to call them green ports is because in order to be able to operate a free port, then you have to be using green technology to power whatever it is you're doing. Or just create new industrial estates where green technology powers whatever's being done there. So that's what I think about free ports. And Chris Mason says there was no fireworks in the budget, but the tax cuts are a headache for Labour, and it is because there goes their spending plans out the fucking Monday. And apparently, Sir Keir Starmer has managed to net Labour an amazing 13 million in donations from the corporate lobbies. So they're replacing the trade union contributions with a Tory party style setup. And in total, since Starmer came to lead the Labour Party, big business have donated 31 million in the Labour Party. And they're not doing that for nothing. They want power and influence once Starmer gets into power. You know. Kevin, you're right. Free ports will be green ports here in Scotland, but they are tax avoidance areas or low tax areas, which will hit the public purse, of course. So Labour's sold out to big business, and big business are starting to invest heavily in Labour because they want an influence on industrial policy going forward. And that's what's wrong with government at Westminster. Ministers don't actually do nothing without getting a fucking bum from the lobby groups. It's very much like the swamp, Washington, DC. Very much like the swamp. And of course, as we know, the Lords have stuck the boot into the Rwanda bill. The government has suffered 5 further defeats in the House of Lords over the Rwanda bill. The proposed law aims to ensure that UK can deport asylum seekers to Rwanda by declaring it to be a safe country. Peers in the House of Lords made several changes to the bill, including allowing courts to question the safety of the East African nation. However, the government is likely to overturn the changes when the bill returns to the House of Commons. The House of Lords had already inflicted 5 defeats over the bill on Monday evening, meaning the government had lost all 10 votes on the proposed law at this stage in the proceedings. Now, as we know, this will batter back and forth. The Lords have been able to hold it up for so long. But this Rwanda thing, it has to be dropped. At a cost of many millions per person to send them to Rwanda. We as well just give them 2 million, stick them a plane, tell them to go wherever the fuck they want, because with 2 million quid they could. They want to give me 2 million to fuck off. I'd consider it. I don't want to live under their fucking rule. Well, mental. Absolutely mental. So, the Rwanda bill's not going anywhere fast. And it certainly isn't stopping small votes. But illegal migration, as they're calling it these days, instead of asylum seeking, isn't it a problem? 30,000 to 40,000 people coming in small boats is not the problem. It's the 1.3 million coming in illegally. And we need better than that, believe it or not. But the people down the road who didn't want black faces turned their back on white Europeans. So now the wee racists down there are going to get what they didn't want. An influx of dark-skinned people from all over the world. This should be funny as fuck. Should be funny as fuck. No. And as we know, Westminster's screaming on the Scottish Government to take care of the people that are coming after the wee boats. The Scottish Government says, aye, they bother. How much are you giving the councils to house them and look after them? Westminster didn't like that fucking idea, so shut his mouth. When you take on an asylum seeker, you have to take on their care. And there's a cost to their care. That cost is supposed to be footed by the fucking Home Office. It's supposed to be footed by the Scottish Parliament. They want the Scottish Parliament to foot the fucking bill. Then devolve immigration. Simple as that. So the Rwanda bill is dead in the water. It's gone nowhere. And this might be one pledge that Labour maybe keep. And that is scrapping the fucking thing. Because every other pledge they've made, they haven't kept. There'll be no reversing the anti-strike laws. There'll be no reversing the anti-protest laws down that road. There'll be no reversing the draconian measures in the security bill that was passed last year. There will be no reversal of any policy put in place by the Tories. None. And as Rachel Reeves has told the people in London this morning, they're not going to reverse the tax cuts or improve or invest in public services. Because without bringing in more money, how are they going to invest in public services? Well, one thing they could do is cut out waste. I think the waste for the public purse since 2019 is up to about 250 billion. 250 billion. And that includes 10 billion, 9.4 billion written off to dodgy PPE contracts and bounce back loans. 9.4 billion. That is a quarter of the Scottish Government's budget to run the whole fucking country. A quarter of it. What tax cuts stand up? Well, technically, NI is a tax. That's about that, aye. What do you think about it? Sunak passed 9.4 billion, wrote off 9.4 billion in dodgy PPE loans and contracts and money stolen from the Exchequer on the COVID schemes. 9.4 billion. Scotland's full budget to run Scotland last year was 41.6 billion. A good example of waste. But anyway, 250 billion were coming up on in waste. Since 2019. Fucking outstanding. When it comes to corrupt parliaments that make banana republics look straight, Westminster, the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers, they are top of the shop. Absolutely top of the shop. Right, folks, that's what I've got for you today. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope you found it informative. I hope you liked the delivery. Now, this is an election year. I've got a funny feeling that this is going to be a May election. As David said yesterday, snap elections favour the incumbent. And of course, there's this idea that there was tax giveaways yesterday to sweeten up an election. So we'll see what happens, we'll see how it goes. Eyes on the prize, guys. Election coming up. Time to start talking to your friends, your family, your work colleagues. Get them convinced to vote SNP. Alright, and when the election comes up, never mind the stupidness. Alpha Party's not getting nothing. The Greens are not getting nothing. The polling's consistent. Don't waste your vote if you're an independent supporter and giving it to these Muppet parties. Sorry, that's no right. No Muppet parties. Giving it to these small parties who are not going to get anywhere. I mean, the Greens are just going to throw away well, on a couple of seats, they might hold their deposit. But if they do hold their deposit in a couple of seats, you can see Labour sneaking through the middle to oust the SNP. So stay away from Alpa, because they're not getting anywhere. They're not even shown in the other section. That's how low they're polling. And the Greens here in Scotland, the polls are not showing them taking it either. So when it comes the day to march into that polling booth, or when you're filling out your postal vote, then put your cross in the SNP box. Eyes on the prize. Have a nice day. We'll be back again today on Monday. There'll be 3 shows next week, because there'll be one on Friday morning with Martin DMP. The notification for that is up on YouTube and on Facebook. Now, folks, if you're on Facebook and you're looking for the notifications because you're a follower of myself, when you're on your newsfeed, to the left-hand side of your screen, there's all these things you can do on the side, and then you'll see 2 wee YouTube signs. And that'll be the notifications for Monday's Two Davies show, Thursday's Two Davies show, and Friday's Two Davies MP special with Martin D. Okay, we use a lot of F yourself. Thanks very much for your donations. Please, because this is an Indie Truck Davy, this is a Two Davies, even though it's been done the style Indie Truck Davy, share it across your social media. Please. Hit the like button on YouTube because it makes a big difference. Viewing figures fantastic again. Up over the 200 mark again. That's consistent every time we put a programme out. And viewing figures are keeping up on YouTube as well. We're more than 2,000 a show, more than 1,000 a show on YouTube, and across Facebook and Discord and things like that. Reesteem tells me we're reaching about 40 million people a month. That's no bad God. So thanks everybody who is sharing. And if you're not sharing it and you like what it is we do, share. Have a nice day. Look after yourselves. Eyes on the prize.